Sometimes I come up with these things that I really want to talk about to you guys because they are so important, but don't really warrant an actual full video because it's like a 2-minute thing for each topic. So I've collected enough of these at this point that I once again want to talk about some things that I've been noticing in the past few months basically, and especially now with playing through once again a lot of demos on the Steam Next Fest, that I just want to scream and yell at you guys to listen to and to take action to, because there are so many easy fumbles that I see developers do, and I mean these are genuine fumbles that you could have avoided easily, that I want to talk about. And the first thing, this was inspired by seeing the generational crash out that the developer Bad Wish Games had, the developer behind Welcome to Dolltown, about like how Steam supposedly was Satan and evil and that their game was like too edgy because it was just waiting on the review queue. I've seen it honestly with a bunch of other games as well. Mr. Elliptic had it happen to him as well, where he was unable to release his game or release his demo because Steam hadn't approved the build of his game yet. So to give you some context, you can only release your game on Steam once you've submitted a build for Steam of your like final game and they approve it. And this can take, depending on like when you do it throughout the year, sometimes it's fast, sometimes it's slow, between I would say 4 and 8 business days for them to get back to you. And the problem is, even if you just forget one stupid thing, you have to go through that process again. You once again have to wait between 4 and 8 business days. And sometimes you may even need multiple rounds where they find out other problems. So you're suddenly looking at like, oh, 4 weeks or something is like, I think the worst case, but I think in general, like 2 or 3 weeks is the bare minimum that you should have as a buffer. If you only submit your build, your final build for release 2 weeks before your game's coming out, this is incredibly risky because there is a lot of damage that you can do to yourself by missing your release window. You are kind of excluded from Popular Upcoming. Like you will show up in Popular Upcoming for the original release window, even if your game will not be able to get released at that point basically. Which means that by the time that you can release your game, you will no longer show up in Popular Upcoming. And I don't know, I feel like Steam also punish you algorithmically for it a little bit based on like how I talk to developers who have had this happen. And the solution is just so simple. Submit your Steam build 2 months in advance. I really don't have a better way to describe it, where also for MO98, when we submitted our demo, because demos you also have to submit a build for, people were like, oh, you need to make sure that you don't wait too long with it. I'm like, my brother in Christ, the demo has been approved for a month already, where you need to remember there's a lot of slop on Steam. And the benefit is that Steam doesn't have a high bar of getting your game approved for the final build. The build that we have now, which is basically the demo of our game, we could upload this same build to Steam right now and it would already get approved most likely, because of the fact that it has everything we talk about. It has localization. If your store page lists localization, they will check that your game is localized in all languages and they'll play like the first 5 or 10 minutes at most of your game. And if you can do those things already, boom, that's a lot of stress gone. You can keep pushing updates from then on without any problem. There's only the first build that you push, or like the first demo that you get approved, that takes the approval time. So don't wait until 2 or 3 weeks before your game is actually coming out to do that final submission to Steam. Do it 2 months in advance and it's still going to be without a problem. It's also stuff like, oh, you need to make sure that if your store page says that there are achievements, that there's minimum 1 achievement implemented and things like that. Those are like the simple things that they do check those, but in terms of the actual quality of your game and if your game has bugs or not, that matters less. They just want to make sure that you're using all of the Steamworks tools that you have checked of like, these are the Steamworks features, if they are actually in game. So don't delay this approval process because honestly, you just look really fucking dumb. And I know people are like, oh, it's Valve's fault because Valve is taking their sweet time. No, you should have just submitted it earlier. I'm gonna be honest. There is nothing stopping you from doing that. That out of the way, there's 3 more things that I have that all kind of tie together to having me played a lot of your guys' games. First thing, understanding the difference in copyright licenses. I play a lot of our viewers' games, and an important thing, if you want to do content creator marketing, or if you want people to play your game, is to use music that content creators can use without their videos getting demonetized or taken down. And especially the demonetization is an important thing because that's their job. Their job is to make videos and that's what they earn money from. So if you're making a game that will restrict them from being able to earn money from making content about it, they're suddenly supposed to work for free. Maybe they have like sponsors or merch sales or whatever, but you're still disincentivizing them to play your game. And I see this every single time that I do a live stream where I play like viewer games. These streams always guaranteed get demonetized because one guy at least uses music that they do not have a license for, or they don't have the correct license for, that content creators can monetize the stream. How you see this the most often is if you're getting music from, for example, I think Epidemic Sound is one that our audience uses a lot, because Epidemic Sound says like, hey, you can use this for commercial use, which sounds like that's what you need, right? But the thing is, you can use it for commercial use. You and like your YouTube channel gets like whitelisted, but nobody else. I don't have a license for that. You as the developer have the license for monetizing. I as the streamer who plays that music, because I play your game, does not have a license for that, meaning my entire stream gets demonetized. That's not good. That is why you may have to go to alternative places to find music. For example, itch.io, the Unity Asset Store, Fab Asset Store, you know, more game development specific marketplaces, because they do have correct licenses. Using those sites like Artlist and Epidemic Sound and whatever, sure, you can get music and it sounds like you're fine, but you're in reality not. There's a very easy way you can test this as well. Just upload like 20 minutes of gameplay of your game to your YouTube channel, or some YouTube channel that is not like whitelisted in Epidemic Sound or something like that. And then YouTube will tell you like, hey, there are restrictions, there are no restrictions if content has been identified. Now, the best way to guarantee that you will never get any copyright issues is by just getting the music custom composed. That costs an absurd amount of money often though. So instead, you will have to kind of go out of your way more to look at like itch.io or other platforms. I've honestly found a lot of good music on itch.io. I think it's kind of slept on. There's other like gaming first sites as well for like music like Ovani Sound, and those can be good as well, but don't just use Epidemic Sound. And if you do know that, hey, I have creator safe music in my game, that's also once again something you can write in your content creator outreach email of like, hey, you can play this game and you're not going to get demonetized. That's once again an incentive for streamers to want to play your game. And speaking of, okay, you've convinced the streamer to play your game, and this message, this goes out solely to my Godot bros. This one is for you. Try to record your game using OBS and see if it's possible or not, because there's an unfortunate problem where OBS and Godot had this bug that's fixed in 4.6, but if you're working on like older versions, I don't know the exact settings, but basically OBS cannot record your game. It shows like the first frame, but it doesn't do like different scenes or whatever. And this is something that if you record like your trailer footage and all of that with like built-in recorder tools, you will also never notice this. But try to record your game with OBS, because a lot of your game is literally unplayable. And some Godot pro may be shouting at me right now of like, oh, you need to choose between game capture versus window capture versus display capture. Once again, you need to remember you are not the only person sending out emails to content creators or live streamers. Why would they spend time on trying to figure out how to make this game recordable when they probably also have no clue that it's because it's a Godot game and there are issues with it, versus just being like, this game is broken, let me just go on to the next game and never cover your game. It is a painfully high amount of games that I see that are simply unplayable in like full screen mode. If you have like a windowed mode, I can usually screen record them still with like scene capture, but full screen mode in Godot in certain versions is just broken. This is a documented bug, like I said, it's been fixed in 4.6, but try to validate these things. Make sure that content creators can actually make content about your game. It sounds so stupid, it's such a stupid bug at the end of the day, but it can have massive impacts, so I just wanted to share that with you. And then going into that, it's like, okay, I get those Godot games, and then, okay, I see like, oh, it's in full screen mode, I cannot screen record this right now, I cannot do a live stream about this, but sometimes, most of the times, I can be saved because there are some settings and I can go to the settings, I can set it to windowed mode, and then boom, Bob's your uncle, that goes. But a lot of games, and this is once again, you see this in the Steam Next Fest, do not have settings. If you're working on a game, I think from the moment you have a public build, even if it's just a shitty game jam build or whatever that you made in 2 days, you need to have the bare minimum of settings. What are those? Volume settings and display settings. Things like enable, disable VSync, windowed mode versus full screen mode, and then yeah, your volume sliders for like music and sound effects or something like that. If you don't have those, I'm sorry, but you need to set higher standards for yourself. I don't know how to say this, but I feel like you're almost not respecting the people who want to play your game by not implementing the bare minimum of settings. This does not take a long time. I don't care even if they're ugly and they're like the default placeholder text mesh pro elements or whatever, but have some settings so that I can actually play the game. If you're using like some ridiculous CRT shader on top of your game as well, have a setting that you can disable it perhaps, but always have something. Control rebinding would be ideal. I understand control rebinding is a lot more work, and if that is not something you want to do in those first versions of your prototypes, totally fine, but having display settings and having sound settings is, I think, the bare minimum if you want to play on Steam, if you want to even play on itch.io and you kind of want to share your game with other people, because there are games that I play and it's like volume is locked to 100% with 0 settings, and it immediately is such a bad experience for me that I'm like, yeah, actually, I don't know if I want to keep going. These are like 4 very small but also very actionable things that I think you should try out or like think about. Like, hey, do I check all of these 4 boxes? Am I using music from something that may have questionable licensing, or I don't know the license exactly myself, and all of those things. So leave me a comment down below if I'm missing something else that's like kind of very basic almost, but that you see a lot of developers still forget, because I always want to know more about these things as well. So go and implement those things. If you do not have a settings menu yet, please, for the love of God, implement that. It shouldn't be too hard. Apart from that, if you're new here, we make 2 videos every week talking about the game development and the things that we learn along the way. So if that's something that you're interested in, then be sure to head down below and subscribe, because I think there is a lot of very good, interesting content on here. So thank you very much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!